Very much. Something the ranking member brought up. The broker-dealer being required to register, or using a auditing firm that is registered with the PCAOB, expired on December 31st of this last year. I understand now that the broker-dealer must be audited by a registered firm, but there is no enforcement authority by the PCAOB for auditors of non-public broker-dealers. Are you aware of this, Mr. Kotz? And if so, what do you think about it?
Yes, I mean, I know that there's been an issue that has been raised of the limited authority of the PCAOB, and that is something that we would look into as well.
Well, isn't this the very point, though, that the three-man auditing group that Mr. Ackerman talked about, that if they had to be registered, they wouldn't have been allowed to be a party to this thing?
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly seem that if the PCAOB had this information, that they would have been able to take action.
But the SEC gave an exemption since 2003, 3 or 4 times.
Right. No, absolutely. There's an issue there about, number one, what was the reason for that rule, but also, number two, whether the SEC, even without the PCAOB, should have been able to see these red flags and take appropriate action.
I understand, but what I'm not gathering is if you or your predecessor knew of this, isn't the Inspector General supposed to notify either the chairman of the commission that there's a failure here in the law as it's drafted, and it will allow some important parties to escape registration, and if no action is taken or no request for additional change or authority of the Congress, wouldn't you come to Congress and say, we've got a gaping hole here, we've got people with billions and billions and billions of dollars that don't have a registered auditor?
Well, I mean, I can only speak for the time I was as the Inspector General, but I agree that certainly if in the context of this investigation and our audit that we conduct, we identify gaping holes like that, we would certainly put that in our report, and that would be brought to Congress's attention. So I agree with you.
But this gaping hole has existed for 5 years, and an exemption has been given 3 times, and nothing ever happened until this thing hit. If it had been changed, if the exemption weren't there, it seems to me this couldn't have happened.
Yeah, I mean, we have not looked carefully at that specific exemption issue, so it's difficult for me to comment, but I do agree with you that we need to look carefully at the regulatory gaps, and if there are regulatory gaps that we have looked at carefully and we've reviewed and find that they exist, that we would absolutely be incumbent upon us to bring that to your attention.